In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to label satellite images using Ecognition. So first of all, we're going to start Ecognition. We're going to use the rule set mode here. Okay, so before starting, I want to show the work directory. So here we got the image label. Inside we're going to have three folders. One is the rule set, the second one is where we will keep our images. So for now I have got one image, and for the last one I've got another folder, Ecognition project files. And when you do this work, you have to maintain a structure like this, and it doesn't have to be named exactly like this, but the structure need to be same like this. Okay, so first of all we have to load our rule set. So I've made a rule set beforehand and we're just going to use it. So this is the rule set that we got from here. Okay, so now you can see we got two sections here. One is this class section and another one is this process tree, and sometimes it might not show up, so it might be like this. So you have to click this develop rule set, so when you select it, it will show up. Okay, so next we have to load the image file. So this is the image we're going to use for our work here. We have to move the window a bit to see the image. Alright, so this is the image we're going to work with. So the first thing, we have to execute this process here. So it's gonna take around 10 or 50 seconds, and it will basically segment our images into little pieces. Okay, so now you can see the image is broken up. It's now quite interactive, and it will help us to label our image. Okay, so when you work with the image, you might want to change some of the window settings here. For example, it's showing the outlines right now, but I don't want to see the outlines because it's hard to see the image that way, so I'm going to remove it. Okay, now I'm just going to zoom by scrolling in and start doing the labeling. So next we have to select classification, samples, then select samples. So I'm seeing quite a few farmland here, so I'm going to select farmland, then shift left click to select the farmland. Okay, so that's how we're going to label the images. Also there's a brush settings for selecting samples. We can use this is when there's when we can easily brush the portions which has like same classes. So for example, we have got a lot of farmlands here, so it's easier to do it brush rather than selecting one by one. But when you're going to do something more complicated or which contains quite a few portions, so we're going to use the select ones, the first one that we selected. Okay, so now we got like water here, so we're going to select the water. I have misclassified here, and you can see it by changing the settings. So here's the samples we're taking, and this is the original image. So I've got river here, but I selected farmland by mistake, so I can just overwrite it. So you see, sometimes when you select well, I'm selecting water right now, but it's also taking some space of the farmland. So there's nothing that you can do. You just have to go with it. Okay, so we got farmland here, so we're going to select some farmland. So it's always better to start from a corner and gradually go left to right, or right to left, top to bottom. Okay, so we got a bit of forest here, so we're going to select the forest. You see some places like this where you'll see shape is containing more than one classes. For example, there's slightly slight farmlands, and most of them are built up here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to select the class which has more percentage in it. For example, the white ones are the build-ups, and the build-ups is more here, so I'm just going to sample it as build-up. Okay, and we got forest here. We're going to select the forest. Sometimes you might not be sure what the what this part of the image is, and rather than guessing the part of that image, you can just simply classify it as unrecognized. So for example, I'm not sure what this is. It might be farmland, or it might be an uh, built up, but I'm not exactly sure, so I'm going to classify it as unrecognized. So I'm basically saying that I don't know what this portion is, so I'm just uh, keeping it as an unrecognized class. Okay, so it's better to give unrecognized as a sample rather than misclassifying it. But you also have to remember that we have to keep the unclassified or unrecognized class as minimum as we can, because the goal of this work is to label the image. So if we have too many unrecognized parts in our image, it kind of defeats the purpose. So we're just going to try to keep as minimum as we can. Okay, so next we're just going to do all part of this image. So yeah, we're just going to keep selecting like this and do the whole image. We have to take samples, or yeah, in this case samples. We have to take all 100% of the samples of this image, and I'm not going to bore you with doing all of it. I'm just going to skip it for now. Okay, so after you are done labeling all parts of the image, the next thing you have to do is save the project file. Okay, so we're going to save project file as, so we're now using this folder here. We're going to save our DPR file, and before saving we have to name the project file according to the original image we used. So here I'm going to use this name, because I use this image. So now we save. So after saving, we're going to have one dpr and one dps file, and this file we can reuse later on and get this exact same workspace. Okay, so after we're done with that, we're just going to execute all these processes one by one. Okay, so after we're done executing up to unrecognized process, the last one we are remained with is this export function here. So we just have to execute, and this will export our image, like this one, as a TIFF format. And yeah, that's it, pretty simple. But before doing that, we have to change some of our window settings, because the image that will be saved is going to be on, like, the current view that we have here. Okay, so since this is a overlay of an image, so we have to change some of the view settings. So first of all, we're going to select this one, view classification. Okay, then we have to uh, unselect all of them. I mean, it should be unselected, but if any case is selected, you have to unselect it. And the last one is the pixel view settings, and this is what creates this transparent image. And after we unselect it, it will give us a solid image like this one, and this is our required image. So we're just going to execute right now, and this will generate our image. So after executing the last process, Ecognition will automatically create a result folder where you kept the original image files. So you go to results and then classification, and you'll see image TIFF file of the same name. So you'll get an image like this. Okay, so after you're done with all of your work, just zip all of this file, and that will be it.